Welcome, revolutionaries, to training your employees on the critical soft skills needed today. Why CX, customer experience, is at all-time low. A key reason why, according to Forrester's Customer Experience Index, also known as the CX Index, rankings report, customer experience quality among brands has plummeted to an all-time low due to the lack of soft skills customer-facing employees have. We live in the digital disruption era, in which technology has provided unprecedented advances in information knowledge, instant access, and entertainment. However, as convenient as these advances make our lives, they've also come at a cost, right? They change how we communicate, behave, think, and dramatically decline in our people skills.
Yeah, John, and it's so interesting. You talked about relationship disadvantaged, and you can see it, right? You can see that people don't necessarily have the same deep um, relationships they once had, whether it was coworkers or fellow students, whatever it is, because as a society, we are no longer curious about others. We're not eager to engage in conversations. I know plenty of people that would prefer to just walk away from a conversation than engage in a conversation. We spend less time with friends in person. And the younger generation, I know this firsthand from my kids, the younger generation communicates electronically. They do everything via text or Snapchat or whatever the communication tool is they're using. And then you look at all the explosions of e-commerce means we're going out less even for simple errands and missing those face-to-face conversations at a counter. And then you add on to that the addition now of so many self-checkouts where you can go places and not really have to talk to another human, even though you're in a store or in somewhere with other human beings. Um, and the interesting thing is, a simple interaction can really have a profound effect on someone's emotional well-being. Just making that connection, sometimes even with a stranger, but even more so with friends and family, can be so important. So what it's leading to is people are longing for a sense of community. People are looking for that because it's been missing in their lives. They're looking for that community, that belonging, that sense of purpose, and a world where people know who we are, what we do. That's important to us. Today, trust is kind of an endangered value, and personally and professionally, success is increasingly about creating and building human connections. And so we need to get back to that. And the problem is we need to train our folks, our team members on how to do that, what that looks like. That's not a skill that people are necessarily bringing to the table when we hire them. And again, I know that firsthand from some of my kids and some of the jobs they had where, interacting at a counter was not really what they wanted to do and they weren't all that great at it either.
Well, Dave, the work from home. I think
Yeah,
you mentioned that. I mean, that
right.
is having a profound impact. So how do we fix it, Dave?
Well, there's a couple of things we can do. We talked about we need to make sure that our team members are trained on this because they're not bringing it to the table anymore necessarily, since they are part of the digitally disadvantaged, especially if they're of a younger generation. So there are some things that we need to do. We need to train our folks on soft skills. And so we've had a lot of conversations. I know one of the things we'll talk about in today's session, John, is what do we call them? What makes sense to call these soft skills? So that will come up, but we need to make sure that our team members have that soft skill training. They can't just go in and learn how to do the job. They have to learn how to deliver the experience while they're doing the job. And that's so important and such an aspect that many organizations miss. They just assume the new team member will bring that quality with them and they really don't have a plan to train them on how to do that. The other thing we have to talk about is service aptitude. Service aptitude is a concept that we talk about all the time in our consulting business. And we have to talk about what service aptitude skills are the most important for customer facing employees to deliver an exceptional customer experience. And so we'll get deeper into that today as well. And there are 9 service aptitude skills that we can improve but there's 9 total. Some we can improve, some we can actually train and look to improve, some we can't. Some are just kind of in you, they're innate, and you either have them or you don't. So we have to be looking for those during the interview process. But how can we train our employees on those skills, making sure that they're focused on those, they're part of our SOPs, for example, they're part of the guidelines that our team members are following whenever they're interacting with our customers. So we've talked a lot about soft skills. What are soft skills? What do we mean by that? That term I think is pretty well known these days. I hear it a lot and we're out and about, people talking about soft skills, but of course, John, the people that you and I are talking to are usually pretty heavily involved in the customer experience for their organization. So maybe they're a little ahead on the learning curve. Maybe not everyone is familiar with that term. What are soft skills and what should we call them? So across organizations, you hear things like soft skills, you hear things like human skills, you hear things like emotional skills, interpersonal skills. Sometimes emotional intelligence is speaking about the same thing, hospitality skills. And one thing that's pretty common that we hear often too are people skills. Do our team members have those people skills? So that's what we hear it referred to very, very often. What we call soft skills, and again, we talked about this already, is service aptitude. Service aptitude skills. And we have a definition of what service aptitude is, which John, you'll share in just a minute. But for us, that's kind of the baseline. It's the starting point of focusing on your organization's customer experience and making sure you're going to deliver a consistently great experience.
Yeah. So service aptitude is a person's ability to recognize opportunities to meet or exceed customers' expectations, regardless of the circumstances. And let's be clear, customer can is a AKA guest, client, member, employee, patient, if I didn't say that, whatever that is. So, service aptitude represents the hospitality side, all those other words, that mean the same. And this is, how an employee makes another person feel. To be a company that consistently delivers outstanding customer service, these characteristics need to be screened, in the interview process and mandatory part of employee training and constantly revisited by your employees. So, Dave, you want to tell us what the 9 service aptitude skills that are most important for customer facing employees to deliver an
I
excellent
would be
customer
I would
experience?
be happy to. So customer um here are the 9 service aptitude skills that we've identified for superior customer service. So the first one is you have to genuinely like other people. If you don't like people, you don't like interacting with people, if that's just not your thing, then maybe a frontline facing role is not for you, right? There's not necessarily a chance for you to get better at that if you don't like it. The second thing is you have to be happy, positive,
Happy?
and hoppy. Well, if you like beers, you could be hoppy. You have to be that was me saying happy and positive at the same time.
Yes. If you drink
Happy,
beer, you may be.
yeah, happy, positive, and optimistic. Right. That's really interesting. You have to be looking at the positive because think about some of your interactions. Some of them are really negative, and you need to have people that are able to stay optimistic, to stay positive, look for the bright side, look for a solution instead of being dragged down to some of that negativity that can happen in organizations, especially in customer engagements. The next one is you have to be charismatic, right? Again, that's a trait that people bring to the table very often. You have to be able to start a conversation, keep a conversation, and draw people to you. The next one is a biggie. Number 5 on this list is being empathetic, to really be able to put yourselves in the shoes of others, to be thinking about how would I react? What would I be thinking if I were in this customer's shoes? And that one is so important because as we talk about often on our webinars, it's very easy for our team members to become transactional, especially if they're hearing the same problems, the same questions over and over and over. I can easily slip out of that interaction mode and being empathetic and really listening to you and fall more into just the transaction and just getting the job done and not displaying any empathy. So that one is really, really important. Number 6 on the list is being a good listener, right? You may know
What?
some people
What'd you say?
that are great listeners and are actively listening to you on every word. You may know some people that you converse with that you can tell right away that you're speaking, but they're already thinking about what they're going to say next. And so, for our folks that are on the front lines, they have to be good listeners. We're going to go deeper into all of these on how you can do some things about it, and that's one of them that we'll get to soon. And I think it's really interesting. The seventh one on the list, insatiable curiosity. You have to care. You have to want to learn more. You have to have an interest in others. When someone comes in and they have an interesting story or even a company logo on their shirt, you have to be willing to want to learn more and learn about them. So that's number 7 on the list. Number 8 kind of continues it a little forward. It's strong at making a connection and building rapport and a relationship. So not only do you have to be curious, but then you also have to act on it and you have to want to build that connection. You have to want to build rapport with that person and then ultimately build a strong relationship on behalf of the organization. And then number 9 is difficult for some people, but you have to be trusting and make charitable assumptions. And what we're referring to with that one is, we always talk about this, how a lot of organizations, their policies and procedures are always written about how to keep the bad customers away, how to keep people away from doing something wrong, as opposed to just focusing on delivering a great experience. And so if your team members are always doubtful of the customer, if they think they're lying, they think they're trying to get away with something, trying to get something for free, that's going to come across in your experience. Your experience is not going to be what you want it to be because they're going to be focused on what they believe to be the things that customers are trying to do. Now, the thing is with employees like this, that's usually coming from a good place, right? They're trying to protect the company, they're protecting the brand. But the reality is, most of our customers aren't trying to get away with something. Most of them just want to get what they're paying for, and we need to treat them as such.
That's the 9, Dave, of those. Not all of them can be trained, which can be and which we'll get into which can't.
Yeah, so the ones that cannot be trained, right? These are the of the 9. These are the skills that cannot improve with training, right? So you need to find people that have this in them. Maybe if they're part of your culture, they might open up a little bit, and some of these things will grow on them. But these are things that you have to really have in you, and that is generally liking others, right? If you don't like others and you show up to work, you're not going to magically all of a sudden enjoy chatting with people. That happy, positive, optimistic outlook is one. Friendly, kind, and caring, and then charismatic. So those are 4 that you're kind of born with and you need to bring to the table. Again, if you're shy, these are things that can come out a little bit more, but if you have it in you, we can put a polish on and make it stand out a little more, but you have to have them in you in order to be successful at service aptitude.
So, a lot of people are thinking, all right, what do we do? If
Yeah.
we can't train these, and that's what, we talk about. This is where your interview process needs to help find these people. Because as Dave said, all the training in the world isn't going to make someone like others. So that's where we like to say hire for the heart and train for the part, and all the training in the world will not make a person who doesn't enjoy others change. The same goes for if you find people are negative or generally unhappy. Your goal is to find candidates who have exceptional service aptitude, are happy, kind, caring, friendly, positive, optimistic, grateful, and genuinely like others. So this is one of my favorite things we've created, Dave.
Yep.
People, our clients, just absolutely love this. This is interview questions to gauge a candidate's service aptitude, and there's a barcode here that you can scan. You're going to get these slides as part of being on the webinar, and I believe there's 35 to 40 questions broken down into categories. Um,
Yes.
and we say don't use them all, and use them part of your technical interview process, but these are things that will tell you if the candidate has or has the potential to have these 9 service aptitude skills. All right, of the ones that can be trained, tell us about those,
Mhm.
Dave.
Sure, I'd be happy to because this is where it's exciting. This is where you can make a really positive impact on your organization. So the first one that we can train our team members on is empathy, right? We can increase their level of empathy. We can make sure that they're thinking about empathy. If you think about most organizations today, it's probably not a word that comes up very often. So if we're focused on it, if we're driving that point home, if we're reminding our team members to be empathetic for the people they're dealing with, that goes such a long way. And there's a couple of ways we do that training. One is just by focusing on the customer experience, right? Just making sure that people understand the experience that they are delivering while they are doing the job that they are being paid to do is important. It's important for the organization. It's important for that customer who's receiving that. And then we take it a step further, and many of our clients on the consulting side of our business have done this. Very often, we'll create a video, a day in the life of the customer, so that people get your team members get a true understanding of what those customers are going through, the hassles they're going through, the everyday life, all those things that they're dealing with before they pick up the phone and call you, or before they walk into your location and actually have that interaction with you. It's not about you as an organization coming to the rescue and fixing all their problems. It's about a reminder of all the things that people are dealing with in their everyday lives. And I'll give you an example. Someone shows up late for an appointment and you're a little upset about it, right? Well, if you knew the backstory that they were dropping off their child who's been ill and they waited and waited for an appointment and then the appointment ran long. If you knew that backstory, would you treat them a little differently? Probably so, right? And so everyone does have a backstory. So it's making sure that our team members are thinking that way in all of their interactions.
As you can see on the slides, if you're watching, there's resources that will show you exactly, specifically how to help your employees have incredible empathy with, videos attached. So that's why we provided resources on each one of these.
Yeah, that's great. So the next one, John, that we can train when it comes to service aptitude is being a good listener. Again, this is a skill that sometimes people have. They bring it to the table with them very often, but others don't. And it could be because they've picked up some bad habits at other jobs or coming from the digitally disadvantaged and just not used to having those conversations. But this is one that we can train. And so someone who actively hears what others are saying understands their message, right? So they're gaining more knowledge and able to help them more. Um, the way you do this is they have to pay full attention. They can't be interrupting, and they have to be showing empathy and understand. They also can't be distracted, right? So in a face-to-face conversation, it's a little easier to show that you're not being distracted and not do something that would distract you. When you're on the phone, so everyone out there that is part of a contact center, it's a little more difficult, right? There's multiple screens I have to go to. Maybe I pick up my phone because a text comes in. There's a lot of distractions out there. And to be a good listener, you have to put those distractions to the side, focus on the person that you're interacting with, whether it's on the phone, face to face, even an email. Set the distractions aside and attack that conversation in the moment, and that's so important. Um, One of the things that really helps people become a good listener, and we'll talk a little more about this in a couple of slides coming up here, is the use of Ford, right? I always say that Ford, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams, those things that are most important to us as human beings. So those are the things that we ask our team members to be listening for in conversations and then using them to build rapport and build that relationship. The thing that's important about that, at the end of the day, what focusing on forward is really is an exercise in active listening, in being a good listener. If you're looking for that information, if you're looking to pull something out of the conversation to then go a little deeper and build some rapport, you are being an active listener. So focusing on those sorts of things, whether it's Ford or something else that your organization does, helps your team members to be a good listener.
Something else I want to add here is being a good listener is hearing what isn't being said, right?
Mm,
You know,
Right.
and the example that comes to my mind is, if you ask someone how everything was today or whatever the product or service you're selling, and they say fine,
Ah,
right?
yep.
Fine is the F bomb of customer service.
Yes.
And fine usually means it was less than, it wasn't worth what I paid. So a lot of things, examples that you can think of what people aren't saying. Another great one is insatiable curiosity, which is a relentless desire to learn and understand more about the other person's situation. People with insatiable curiosity always seek new knowledge, ask questions, and explore various topics enthusiastically. They do not assume anything and are open to learning. So we have some resources for each of these that you can see. Type them in to your browser, and you'll get plenty of great examples to share with your team. And strong at making a connection, building a
Mhm.
rapport and relationship, the ability to establish meaningful and positive interactions with others, with others quickly. Building rapport involves finding common ground, showing genuine interest, and creating a sense of trust and mutual respect. So, that is critical. And then the last one here is trusting slash charitable assumption. And Dave, you talked about that. People give others the benefit of the doubt, assume the best intentions in their actions and words. And so, as leaders on this, we have to constantly be having our employees, not punish 98% of the customers that 2% might take advantage of us for. We have to, really be training to, I like to say, have you ever, to an employee, have you ever complained, not because it was a valid complaint, but because you wanted something for free? And
Mm.
to my knowledge, no one's ever said, "Yeah, I've done that." And so if you haven't, let's give charitable assumption that our customers aren't. Now, there's always the net for the one that this is the fourth time in a row. That's a different story, but only reserve that for the people who are chronic. And we really have to treat everyone, giving that trusting and charitable assumption. So,
John, I think one
yeah,
thing we have to point out on this one is you have to look at your entire organization, right? I know there are plenty of organizations out there where we talk about charitable assumptions, and frontline folks are doing that, willing to do it, but when they take it up the ladder, when they
yeah,
take it up to the next step, sometimes the supervisor's like, we can't do this, or so it's got to be across your entire organization. It's not just your frontline folks. They're a big, important piece of this, but your supervisors, your managers all have to be on board because I've seen those breakdowns happen within organizations.
yeah. You're right with too much policy. It
Yep.
really handcuffs the employees, and then they become afraid. And as we talked about in the past, they also will can't show empathy and good judgment, and something outlandish happens that's definitely the company's fault, and they'll say, sorry, that's our policy, and it's not the employee's fault. They heard someone got in trouble or got fired for going against policy. So yeah, that's really, really important. So me and Dave cannot be on this webinar live. We apologize. We're both traveling and helping our clients today. That doesn't mean we can't answer your questions. So submit questions. Lindsay will do her best, and Lindsay's brilliant at this, and she can help you. Lindsay's a great resource because she's actually doing it. I mean, she's been doing it for over 20 plus years. So she's the employee that has been on both sides of this, and can tell you how hard it is, and and tell you how she's handled it. as well as we will get back to all people with questions that weren't answered. But before we go, we want to talk about something that is coming up, leading the experience revolution. It's our substitute this year for our customer service revolution conference that we have every year in person. This year we're not having it in person, so we have the virtual live stream workshops. We have two for the price of one. Day one is October 28th from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where me and Dave will be helping you. And this is a workshop. This is not just us talking. Have your team, your leaders on it, and we will be helping you create your signature experience. Journey mapping what you're doing. Even if you've done this in the past, it's got to be updated. Things have changed. Technology have changed. Competitions change. So that's going to be a wonderful workshop. And this is the perfect timing, so you can launch this in 2025 across your entire company. And then the second day is the following week, day two, November 4th, from 12 p.m. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to be talking about the employee, creating your employee signature experience, and looking at each part of their journey, from the recruitment to the onboarding to ongoing, and the different points in their career. So again, this is going to be a workshop where Dave and I will be sharing best practices that companies do, and then challenge you to take time there and work on parts of this. And we're going to be there to help you and jump in and answer questions, and give you our counsel on it. And then we have every other Thursday. This is the rest of the year's virtual workshop webinars that you're on now. We have Selling as an Experience coming up at September 26th. Turning your contact center into relationship center, Thursday, October 10th. Creating your signature experience, October 24th. Forget customer surveys. Learn the real customer experience, KPIs, on November 14th. And then the last one of the year is Service Recovery, Never Is and Always, on December 6th.